Hey there, everybody. Welcome in. We are getting ready to talk about season 3, episode 7 of House of the Dragon. Give everyone a chance to roll on in here. If you're watching on the rewatch, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It does help the stream do better. And let me know if you guys are in the live chat, if the audio sounds bad or anything. Yeah, let's get rolling right on into it. Thank you all for joining me a little later than normal streams, but busy week, so this is the only chance that I was going to have to do this week, so it's what we are doing. Um, yeah, let me know in the chat what you guys thought of the episode and all that good stuff. I thought it was really good. I would say it's the best episode of this season. Potentially besides one of the first two, I'd have to go rewatch the first two. But like of the episodes that were supposed to be season 3, this is probably the best so far. We'll have to see. Hopefully the finale will even top it, but we had some pretty great moments there. But yeah, good to see people rolling into chat. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Um but yeah, we will get on rolling here. The first scene of the episode we see is a Helena dream slash vision. Um, and we've got Helena hanging out with a horse, dreaming of her freedom as the gates open and the sun shines down upon her. Um, we're saying too short and rushed. We can see that the season was rushed. The season is a little bit rushed, partially, I think, because they only had 6 episodes for the actual season 3. Um, so that is, you know, unfortunate, I guess, but what are you gonna do? At least this time they had like the ability to plan that out in advance. Um, Dragon's good, teleportation bad. Yeah, there is a little bit of question as to like how quickly Allison got to Harrenhal, but you know, it is what it is. But yes, hello, hello. Um, Thank you all for joining. But okay, so after Helena's little dream sequence in the beginning, Rhaenyra wakes her up and talks to her about being a dreamer and the whole situation. So, uh, Helena suggests that she doesn't like being around Dreamfire at this point because it's too much. She said she used to like to ride, but it all just overwhelms her now when she's around her dragon. And she talks about how the dragons change them, and Rhaenyra is like surprised by this. She's like, "You believe the dragons alter us in some way?" And Helena's like, "Well, you have 5 dragons. Are you not altered by that?" And Rhaenyra's like, "Well, I don't try to be." But it's very clearly a thing that we've seen throughout the series is that yes, like the dragons and the human riders, they have their bond and it affects both of them. Aemond is a very different character after he claimed the world's biggest, grumpiest, oldest dragon. So it is uh it is a thing that is definitely true, and Helena just calls it out directly to Rhaenyra here. Um, and Rhaenyra, I said this in my video about Helena. Rhaenyra is trying to use Helena as like a prophecy vending machine. She's just like ordering up like information about the future. She's like, "What about Ormond Hightower? Is he gonna lose? What's going on in Tumbleton? Where is Daemon?" And Helena is just like, "I don't know. I had a dream about a horse last night. I'm not sure what you want from me right now." Um, and Yeah, she says she sees flashes of things. Um, so yeah, it doesn't quite work exactly the way that Rhaenyra is wishing that it works here. But let's see. Yes, we've got love for Helena in chat. Absolutely, Helena scenes are wonderful, and yeah, I do agree. The Sunfire scene is probably the best of the season. Um, it's absolutely up there. It's on the short list for sure. Um, so yeah. Yeah, I think it's more just showing Rhaenyra's desperation. They say the whole ordering vision scene was off and it didn't work. She would have known how it works. And I think that she should really know how it works, but it's just showing the absolute desperation from Rhaenyra right now because everything is incredibly stressful. It's not going according to plan. And now she has like this potential window into like, hey, maybe this is something that will show me that I'm on the right path. Because if you remember, like all season, she has been sort of more and more giving herself over to this magical thinking of like, oh, the gods have sent me a dragon. The gods have ordained this. This is clearly the path that I am meant to be walking. Surely this person who can see the future will reassure me that I am doing the right thing. And yeah, she gives into I think that desperation and really just wants someone to reassure her. Um yeah, tell me I'm doing the right thing. Absolutely. Um and yeah, it is very unqueen like. I'll agree with that, but Rhaenyra one of her whole things at this point is that ever since she's become queen, she has done quite a few things that are very unqueen like. She is not like, you know, she has not been the perfect ruling queen by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I think it kind of works with her character. Yes, I agree. She needs validation. She's seeking validation from this person who can see the future, and Helena doesn't give it to her. Um, they're asking, did I see George's not a blog from yesterday? I did. I hope George is doing all right. He posted his first not a blog in like half a year or more for anyone who didn't see. And yeah, he just talked about having a rough time, um, being old and losing lots of people in his life. And yeah, I just hope that he is doing all right. Um, but yeah, yeah. Everybody liked the stream. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you. Um, but yes, so she like grabs Helena's arm and says, "Tell me what you know." And this is obviously freaking Helena out, and she just stays silent. Um, First stream, thank you for joining. Do we think Helena remembers her visions, or is it like a dream you wake up from? I imagine it's somewhat like a vivid dream where like she probably doesn't remember every vision dream that she's had like ages ago, but like if you ask her about her right when she wakes up, she probably does remember it vaguely, but they're also very like, for the most part they're very like metaphorical, right? Like she was seeing a horse and the chance at freedom or whatever with the gate opening, but when she's asked about it she just says she dreamed of a gray mare. So yeah, I imagine it is somewhat similar to a vivid dream. So yeah. And yeah, I too would also be probably trying to ask the prophecy vending machine to tell me what I need to know. In a stressful situation like Rhaenyra's in, I think it makes sense that she's doing that. Yeah, this is a good question. I don't see any any clues in this embroidery. I don't know if anyone caught that in the chat. Um, if if anyone has any idea what Helena was embroidering in this episode, feel free to shout it out there. But I didn't pick up on anything. So and yes, we do love George R. R. Martin and feel bad for him. Yeah, it is sad. It sucks, I think, being as old as George is. But yes, he said that it's been a rough year losing people close to him, and he said something along the lines of the worst may be yet to come. So I really hope someone close to him isn't like actively sick. But that is kind of the implication I took from that. So yeah, it is a rough blog post from George. Hopefully he is going to be doing better soon. But yes. So then, yeah, we get the scene where Alicent arrives at Harrenhal as Aemond is practicing shirtless with his sword, trying to get his form back. and all of that stuff. I did not do a stream about the play yet. I did a bunch of videos about the play, and I'll maybe have another one or two videos about some play revelations, but I will probably at some point after the House of the Dragon season, maybe we'll have a stream talking all about the play and all that good stuff once we've had a little more time to digest it. Maybe by then George will have seen it and made a blog post about it because apparently he was planning on seeing it at some point in August. So, at least as of last I heard, he was planning on seeing it. So, yeah, we may have even more information. Um, let's see. Um, so yes, Alicent rolls on in here and she says that she failed Aemond and that she was too young. And he says, no, never. You didn't fail me as a mother, even though she kind of did. And it's weird because obviously we've seen the episode. We know that this is not actually Alicent. This is like Vision, Harrenhal Vision Alicent. And I do think it's kind of funny that we get like this very realistic admission from Alicent of like, hey, I sucked as a mom, but it was because I was too young. I was married off as a teenager and made to have you and your brother and your sister, and I was married to like a decaying old man. And yeah, like this is a thing that we should keep in mind with the fact that yes, Alicent is a bad mom. She lost her mom when she was young. Her dad viewed her as like a chess piece, and her husband, who she was married off to at like 16 or whatever, uh, was not the most healthy relationship. So yeah, it is interesting that it's Vision Alicent who is having this candid, open moment where she just like, yeah, this is a thing. So yeah, I don't know how much that's like Harrenhal recognizing the truth of the situation, like reading the the reality of Aemon's mind and understanding what's going wrong. But yeah, it's a interesting scene, and then they start to make out, uh, which Aemond is a little too happy about. This is his face when he realizes that he's sleeping with his girlfriend, not his mother. This face of shock and horror is the moment of realization that no, wait, that's not my mom, that's my girlfriend, and that is a heck of an interesting situation. um, yeah, I don't know how much more needs to be said about that. And Alice asks, "What have you seen?" She is surprised that he is suddenly freaking out in the middle of sleeping together, and she's talking about giving him a son. Um and yeah, it's an interesting situation. I don't get the vibe, having watched it a couple times, I don't get the vibe that this is her, like, tricking him and glamoring or whatever. I think this is Harrenhal messing with him, and she seems, like, as surprised as anyone, uh, that this was the case, but I think there is you could read it either way. If you read it as Alice actively like glamoring as Alicent and trying to manipulate him, that's insane and crazy. But the other side of it is like I don't think she needs to do that. They are together. They've talked about making sons. Like she doesn't need to like drug him to get into this situation. So I think that it is the case that like it it is, I think, just Harrenhal. Because yeah, as I said, like she just straight up they've talked about and they talk again in this episode about having children together. There's no real reason for her to do this intentionally, and also it screws up the plan if her plan is to try get knocked up here. Uh, it it throws a big wrench into that because he freaks out in the middle of it and runs off. And then when he runs off, he sees his actual mother, which is like the worst possible timing for Alicent to arrive here. He just thought that she arrived like 20 minutes ago, and like 5 minutes ago, he thought they were sleeping together, and now uh, here she is, and he's just like, "Oh God, is this even real? I don't know what's going on right now." So yeah, yeah. Um, so we are debating in chat whether she knows or not, and like, yeah, I do think it could go either way. Um, I think I just like the vibe that I get is that if it was the first time that they had made out, if it was like a situation where they had not already agreed that they're going to have Targaryen princes together and raise this as a new seat, a new line of unsullied kings, like if that had not all been already agreed to, it would be more likely that this was a manipulation. But as it stands, I kind of get the vibe that no, Aemond was just freaking out because of Harrenhal shenanigans. So yeah. Um yes, I think her plan is to get pregnant. They talked about that. Like she talked last episode about his sons will be Targaryen princes and she'll be the Lady of the Water, he'll be her dragon lord, and then she starts talking about his sons. And this episode, he talks about them forming a new line of unsullied kings as he looks at Alice. So yeah, I think they're both on the same page, which again makes it feel like maybe um this isn't a needed manipulation. But so then we see the host approaching Tumbleton. They're a day's march away, two at most. Gwaine gets back. He goes out. I don't know if he was like trying to leave and then he saw the army approaching and he's like, I gotta go warn them. Um, that could definitely be the case, but either way, he is back at Tumbleton because last episode he was given permission to leave. So I don't know if he was trying to leave or not, but either way, he's back, and Ormond is still not going to tell him the plan. He says he has a piece on the board now that will bring Rhaenyra to heel, and Gwain's like, "What is it?" And he just smiles and walks away. So yeah, he's still too cool to share his plans with the audience or anyone. But yes, hello April, hello everyone rolling on into chat. Um, yeah. It was a crazy episode, that is for sure. Um and yeah, I mean I do agree that Alice Rivers is working along with the Weirwood visions. I just don't know if she actively knew in that moment what he was seeing. Because as I said, she acts very surprised and she's like, "What did you see, Aemond?" when he freaks out. So like she does know that there are visions and Weirwood shenanigans going on, but I don't think she was like actively intentionally appearing as his mother in that moment. So yeah, it's up in the air, I guess. Maybe she was, but I don't get that read from having watched it a couple times. Um Welcome in to your first live stream. Glad to have you here. Um, and yes, she is a manipulator. That is absolutely true. She is manipulating Aemond. I just don't know if it goes as far as like she's drugging him and pretending to be someone else to sleep with him because again, as I said, he and her seem to already be sleeping together trying to have kids. So it really only screwed up her plan in this instance. Um but yes, so after we learn that the army is arriving at Tumbleton soon, we get this scene of Caraxes landing on the bridge at the Erie again, which always looks cool when Caraxes parks himself on the bridge here. And Daemon walks in and stands like right on the edge of the moon door to be angry and wonder where his daughter is. And I thought that was very funny. He's just like instantly gonna walk up and stand right on the edge. Maybe some symbolism going on there, or maybe Damon just really likes standing very close to cliff edges, I guess. But yes, Caraxes was very good this episode, for sure, for sure. And yeah, he just likes the view of being able to look down. I mean, as a dragon rider, I'm sure he probably likes heights and such. But yeah, it was very funny. And Jane Aaron has her girlfriend sitting on her lap when Damon just storms his way in, which is also very funny. Um, but yeah, she says that there are rumors of a dragon rider all throughout the Vale now, a girl living in the wilds amongst nettles and sheep. So we get a little nettles reference, which if that's as far as they go with it, fine. It was like a little wink at the book character who Reyna has replaced. And I've talked about it in previous episodes. I really don't want Reyna to be going by the name Nettles, and like I think we are past that now with the scene that we'll get to later on. So yeah, it's I think that this is probably as much of a reference as we're gonna get, which I'm fine with. But we'll see, I suppose. And then I love how Damon has to like he's trying to like demand that Jane doesn't tell Rhaenyra where Reyna is or what's going on, and then he has to like angrily brood for a moment and be like, please don't tell her. Like the the childlike anger with which he has to like say fine, please. I thought that was very funny. Um so I think Matt Smith has said he's playing Damon as like petulant or whatever. And yeah, I think that's a very good read of this character. He's like too proud to actually just say please. He needs to be a little angry about it. So yeah, it's very funny. I enjoyed that. Um yeah, yeah. Reyna was out in the woods and then she nettled all over the place. That is pretty much what's going on. And yes, his pleas was not a thing that he wanted to say at all. Um, but yeah. So then we get this scene of Adam and Bela, and he's like, "Hey, could you put in a good word to the queen? My dad wants us to be legitimized, but Rhaenyra is not going along with it." And Bela's like, "What do you want me to do? She hates me ever since the gullet. Like, she's sent me out on scouting missions constantly so that I don't have to be anywhere in her sight." And yeah, then we get the hilarious exchange where he's just like, "Well, if we were to get married, if either of us were to gain the favor of some highborn lady," and she's just like, "Oh, so your brother talked to you then?" And you can just see the moment that his heart snaps in half. He's just like, "Wait, what? Oh no. Oh no. No." So yeah, we've seen him trying to flirt with her in the past. They are like the two dragon riders. He's flirting with the cute girl that he's working with, and then he finds out, "Oh no, she's into my older brother." Um, so yeah, this is pretty funny. Um, but yeah, it's a funny situation, and yeah, I don't know that her and Alan actually have that much chemistry, but as I said last stream, I think it might be partially her like she's not into the idea of another wild dragon rider husband after her last betrothed got killed in a battle. And Alan is very dutiful, which is what she says to him before they make out. And he is a very responsible person who is like able to get things done and take charge and take care of others, and she I think likes that maybe a little bit more than someone who is a super charismatic dragon rider who is going to be more at risk perhaps because of dragon battles and all of that stuff, which again got her previous betrothed killed. So yeah, it I think kind of makes sense, even though on screen I think we've seen more chemistry between these two. But yeah, yep, yep. I was also reminded of the Simpsons episode, the Simpsons clip of like you can see the exact moment his heart snaps in half, or whatever it is. That is the vibe that I got from this look here. Um, but yes. We then go back to Harrenhal, where Alicent is explaining how she escaped, and Aemond is like grabbing her and like looking at her, like making sure that she's real, which Alicent has no idea about. He's like, wait, what? She's like, what's going on? Have I offended you? And he's just like, no. I just have to make sure that you're not a hallucination. I have to make sure you're not my girlfriend. So, yeah. Um, then she goes and explains that Sir Adrian has helped her escape the capital and escorted her here and is her protector. And he, gives a little bow to Aemon, calls him your grace, says he did only as his consciousness demanded. And then they do a little handshake, and Aemon stabs him up underneath the chin. So, yeah, in that moment, Alicent's entire plan and her protector all gone. There was some question at the end of last episode, like, okay, wait, does Rhaenyra expect Alicent to straight up murder Aemond, like herself? How is that going to work? And no, what she expected is for Sir Adrian to do it. And he was sent there as the assassin. Alicent is the one to lull him into a false sense of security, and that goes horribly. And Alicent is not happy about it. So the whole plan has just exploded like 10 seconds into her arrival at Harrenhal. Um, and he says, there are secrets here. I can trust no stranger. And Alicent is like, what the hell are you talking about? What's going on? And yes, as some people are pointing out, the weirwoods have been fed. The trees are drinking the blood. Um, it is it is absolutely a thing. He's already like impaled someone on the root of the weirwood. So Aemond is being very good to the Harrenhal weirwood this season. Um and yeah, he says there are secrets here, he can trust no stranger. And then Alice shows up and says, "Oh, you're just in time for supper." Which is very Alice. She's always popping up at the right time to invite people over to dinner. Um, and then we see another dinner here with Corlys hanging out with Ormond as a hostage, and he's just like, "No, I'm not letting you poison my wine. Stop that." um, and Ormond explains to him like, "Hey," so he asks like, "What use am I of to you as a hostage?" And he's like, "No. Do you think Rhaenyra cares enough about you that she would do anything? Like, is she going to give up her crown to save your life? Absolutely not." Um, so he says, "But with you here as a hostage, the men of Driftmark will be less likely to help keep order in the capital. And without them, the city will again will eat of its own disorder." And Darren is like, "Wait, how will that help? There's an army right at our gates. Like, how will King's Landing being disorderly help us at this point? We're about to die, Ormond." And I love Ormond's face here when Darren dares to question him in front of his hostage. He's like, "I'm trying to impress Lord Corlys here before we like lop his finger off and send it in a box. And you are ruining the vibe, Darren. I'm trying to aura farm and you're ruining it." Um, so yeah, I love the facial work here from Ormond. Um, so we then have Ormond. Well, Ormond first, he suggests that he's going to become a vegetarian somehow. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. They say the meat's good for you, but it's just so slippery and slimy. I don't understand how it can be benign. Um, but he says, what do you see in them anyway? The Targaryen sort or whatever. What did he say? The Targaryen element, I think he says. And he says, "Your wife was, of course, one of them, but that ended all too predictably. And now you've seen how they devour their own." And Corlys like stands up and he's just like, "I would like to return to my cell." I've seen it compared to Will Smith, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth." And yeah, that is basically the vibe here from Corlys, I think. I thought that was a funny comparison. But yeah, Ormond is just like, "Oh, but by the way, Lord Corlys, before you go," and he just pulls out a knife, and we will find later in the episode why exactly he did that. But yeah, Ormond Ormond is great to hate, absolutely. He is one of my favorite characters in the show at this point, without a doubt. Um, But yeah, uh, yes, it is. He is always just saying some goofy shenanigans. Um, so yeah, Corlys goes back to his cell, and Darren is here talking to Gwaine, and he says, "Am I just to sit by while a madman destroys our house and sacrifices all of our lives, basically?" And Gwaine shows that he is learning a little bit from his buddy Kristen Cole. He says that he talks about the dream that some men have of covering themselves in everlasting glory, somehow transcending humanity's common fate, uh, which is just straight out of Kristen Cole's book. Like he was like the death poet warrior for the last like season and a half. The entire time Gwaine has known him, he has been like speaking poetically about his coming doom. And now Gwaine has had that rub off on him, musing about how Ormond is trying to escape death by immortalizing himself in the histories. And Darren seems to recognize that on some level because the next line after Gwaine does his like Kristen Cole death poetry is, "I'm sorry about your friend." And Gwaine says, "Well, he gave himself to the dust." So yeah, they're having a chat about Sir Kristen here, and Gwaine misses his buddy. Unfortunately, he has given himself to the dust indeed. Um, so yeah, yes, when he tells Darren to keep his voice down as he's making fun of Ormond, that was very good. Um, oh, well, yes, if you haven't watched the episode yet, thank you for the like on the stream. Hello and goodbye. Definitely go watch it before you watch this stream. It was a good episode. Um, but yes. Um, I don't know if Kristen didn't earn it. He was melodramatic. I think he earned it. He saw men like turn to ash within their armor at Rook's Rest. He like his brain broke during the Battle of Rook's Rest in that like massive fiery inferno where he almost died. He watched his entire like best laid plan just completely fall to pieces. His king almost died. There's a point where he like walks up to a man from behind, puts his hand on his shoulder, and he's like, "We needed to find the king. We need to find the king." And that man is like an ash skeleton inside his armor, and just one little touch collapses him. Like that would really ruin you, I think. I don't know personally, but I would imagine that would really mess me up. So, yeah. Um Kristen, I think he yes, the parts about like Allison dumping him were maybe a little extra dramatic because I think he and Allison could have probably fixed things had he not marched himself to death. But he I think was mostly brain broken by the dragon fight. Because if you remember, he and Allison had a conversation when he came back, and she's just like, "Hey, why didn't you vote for me as regent in the small council meeting?" And he's like, I've been brain broken by dragons. Like I saw men turn to ash. We've given the war over to the dragons now, and everything's going to be horrible. Would you preside over that, Alicent?" So like he is yeah, he is brain broken by what he has seen in war. And I think that is kind of what led to the destruction of his and Alicent's relationship as well, if you like trace the dots going back through the episodes. Um so yeah. Um he did also beat a man to death at a wedding. Yeah, Kristen Cole, not a great dude overall. In the main book series, I think he's described as like the best and the worst of the Kingsguard. In that, like, he was amazing at fighting, but also he did a lot of very bad things. But yeah, so they said he gave himself to the dust, and Gwaine suggests that Darren could fly away onto Sarion and save himself. And Darren's like, "Well, if I do, where would I even go? Like, who's gonna welcome a king who left all of his men to their fate and escaped on his own?" Um, it's like a captain who doesn't go down with his ship when everyone else does. That's not great, you know. Um, It's not a great look, but he says that he doesn't fear being what does he say? Is it obscurity basically he doesn't fear not being remembered and he doesn't care about the crown. Rhaenyra can keep her crown for all I care. So we're getting more realization that Darren is just not really on board with this plan to crown himself the king. He is a puppet for Ormond, essentially. And they even talk about how if Darren flew away on Tessarion, Ormond would still just keep going with this plan. He doesn't care about Darren at all. He is doing this for his own reasons. Um, and yes, like Kristen Cole absolutely has PTSD for sure. And I liked the performance for Kristen Cole. He was one of those characters that was fun to hate. He's like Ormond. He's fun to hate, but every time he was in a scene, it was pretty awesome. So yeah, it's I thought Kristen Cole was a really great character. Just one that's fun to hate and make fun of sometimes. Um, Nobody could possibly love Cole more than Cole did. Fair enough, fair enough. Um, but yeah. So, uh, then we get a hilarious small council scene where Torrin Manderly is like, everyone in the streets hates me. They're blaming me for all of these problems. They smeared excrement on my doorway overnight. And Rhaenyra's like, what do you want me to do about it? And he's like, it's your fault. What are you talking about? He says, in front of petitioners, you named me responsible for the city's like debt. And she's just like, well, what have you done to fix it? And he's like, what can I do? I tried to tax the people and you guys won't let me. We don't have any money unless we do a tax. Like, what am I supposed to do about this? And then he says that he thinks he's like, it's as if I've been set up here just as some sort of scapegoat. And then we cut to Mysaria, like, looking away and taking a long sip of wine so that she doesn't have to say anything. Because yeah, Mysaria straight up, literally the entire plan was for Torrin Manderly to be set up as a scapegoat, and it was Mysaria's plan. So that was very, very funny. Um, so yeah, it is um a very funny little exchange here. And then we get one of my favorite screenshots of the episode. He's like, I have a reputation to uphold. And everyone continues to ignore him. And they start talking about Harrenhal, and he's just frustrated. Like, none of them actually have a good answer for the question he's asking. So all of them just keep moving on and ignoring that he's asked the question. And yeah, that was very funny. And yeah, this scene gave us quite a few good screenshots. This Mysaria screenshot is very good. This screenshot is very good. So yeah. Um, we then yeah, Mysaria was eating in every scene that she was in, especially so in one of the last scenes that she was in. There was much implied eating going on later on. But yes, there's the small matter of Harrenhal, says Lady Frey, and Rhaenyra's just had enough. She's like, just take it. Harrenhal was the prize for whoever could slay Aemond, and now that she sent Alicent and one of her Kingsguard to do it, neither of them are going to get Harrenhal because the Kingsguard can't have a seat, and Alicent is obviously not going to get Harrenhal. So yeah, we have uh we have her just like, okay, so Harrenhal, then I wanted Harrenhal, that's why I came here. And she's just like, just take it. And she's just so jacked. Like, look how happy she is. She's like, oh yeah, this I will do gladly. She's sent back to the twins to grab the Frey army and march them to occupy Harrenhal, which I hope we get to see next episode. It would require some jetpacking, so maybe it'll be the beginning of next season. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when Harrenhal, when the Frey army arrives at Harrenhal and Aemond is just chilling there with Alice, uh, and Alicent. I don't know, like, what's going to happen to Alicent. I would imagine we're going to end the season on, like, this is just a prediction because this is completely off, like, book knowledge. Um, I imagine the last scene that we're going to get of Alicent this season is her trying to make her way back and like being captured or something, right? Like we're gonna end on a cliffhanger of like, oh, who's captured Alicent, sort of like how we ended on a cliffhanger of who captured Otto last season. But that would be my prediction for that. Um, so yeah, it'll be, and I mean, maybe it would also be a good cliffhanger to have the Frey army arriving at Harrenhal, and like the last thing that we see from Aemond and Alice is that they see the army arriving. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then we have the news arrive that Sheepstealer has been sighted in the Riverlands, and Rhaenyra is like, "What? How is that a thing?" Oh yeah, the other thing that happened in this council meeting I didn't get a screenshot of is Daemon is just absent. He's no call, no show to work that day. So it is interesting then that Daemon has disappeared at the same time that suddenly Sheepstealer has been sighted with a rider in the Riverlands. So Mysaria is instantly trying to use this to turn Rhaenyra against Daemon, which is like now seemingly her main goal. Um, so yeah. Well, thank you. We're getting some compliments on some of my theories about the magic and such. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed them. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out, if you're new to the channel recently, you got lots of videos that you guys can go back and watch. Um, but yeah, so Mysaria here is saying basically like, hey, Daemon is a liar. It's really suspicious that he brought you that skull and refused to elaborate. Like, have you not really doubted that that was actually Sheepstealer's rider? And now all of a sudden, Sheepstealer is sighted with a rider, and at the same time, Daemon is absent. And yeah, that is very suspicious. So, we have Rhaenyra at the end of this scene being like, okay, get Adam and we're gonna go. She basically sets up the fact that they're going to go to where Sheepstealer was seen and figure out what exactly is going on, which we will see later on. Um, and yeah, thank you. Yes, I do have a video that I put out about Helena's visions. We'll talk about them later in this episode as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen that, I do recommend that one. I think a lot of cool stuff going on with Helena's visions later on in the episode. Um, but yeah, also, so there is this like interesting dynamic between Mysaria, Rhaenyra, and Daemon going on here. Um, because like on one level, it is very scheming and self-serving for Mysaria to be trying to turn Rhaenyra against Daemon, but at the same time, Mysaria does have like long-standing beef with Daemon, and she's not exactly wrong. Like there was obviously the whole stuff with them in early in season one where they were camped on Dragonstone, and he lied to everyone about how she was going to be his wife and she was going to have his baby, and she I think is still probably not super over that whole scheme. But then also when he captured her, he was like, "Hey, give me information and I'll let you go." And then he just didn't. He just kept her in prison. So, Mysaria is being a little bit of a schemer here, trying to turn Rhaenyra against her husband, but it is not without like good reason on her part. Um, like, yes, I will agree. She does not have anyone. She does not have anyone's best interest at heart. She is being selfish here. I'm just saying that the beef that she has with Daemon is not entirely unfounded. Um, but so then we see our dynamic trio here uh, hanging out, riding their horses, and they find a bunch of people fleeing, and they're just like, "What's going on?" And they're just like, yeah, the Mutant army, 1,000 strong, has just arrived, and they're coming through the area." I don't think they find out in this scene why yet. We'll get to that scene later, but yeah, they find that there is an army that is approaching them, and the road that they're trying to go down is maybe not the best one to go down. And then we get a wonderful scene here of the awkward dinner between Aemond, his girlfriend, and his mom, who really does not approve of his new girlfriend. And that whole entire dynamic in this scene is just phenomenal. Um, so yeah, um, it is it is great. Alice smiling here as Alicent is very uncomfortable and Aemond is in the middle of them just trying to have dinner. Um, And so Alicent is like, so what's going on here? Who is this woman? And Aemon's like, she saved my life. And Alicent's like, at whose instruction? Because Alicent can't like fathom this woman is not working for someone because all of Alicent's life she has kind of been working in the pursuit of other people's goals for the most part. And Alice says that she generally follows her own dictates, which probably just makes Alicent even a little angrier or a little bit more confused. And then she's just like, "Yeah, I still don't understand who this woman is, Aemond." And he's just like, "Well, she's a lady." And yeah, I love this. She's like, "I don't understand who this woman is," and Alice just sighs and looks annoyed. Um, and she's just like, "Yeah, she's a lady. We're going to make this place my seat. I'm going to stay here with her." And Alicent is like, "What do you mean you're going to make this your seat?" And he's just like, "Isn't that literally what you told me to do?" Because when she was lying to him earlier to try get him to go to Harrenhal, she's just like, "Yeah, go to Harrenhal, make that your seat, and you'll be really strong there and well defended." And now she gets to Harrenhal and she's just like, "What do you mean you're making this your seat? What are you doing?" And he's just like, that was your idea. Like, what are you talking about, mom?" She's just like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I was lying when I said that, but he took it seriously. Dang it. That's right." Um, but then he talks about how they're going to make a new line of unsullied kings here at Harrenhal. So this is again more confirmation that like he is trying to have children with Alice. So the vision from earlier on was not a thing that she would have needed to do to try and have children with him. But yeah, no, this scene was absolutely amazing. Um yeah, it was great. It was great. Um Yeah. No, it's great. Um, yeah, it's his magic like, "Who is this woman?" "Oh, it's my magic witch girlfriend. She saved my life with unexplainable powers, and she's helping me deal with the fact that I've been tripping balls ever since I got here. And we're gonna have a bunch of kids, and we're gonna make a new line of kings, and we're gonna rule from Harrenhal, and it's gonna be great." So yeah, no, this was a phenomenal scene. And Alice is just like, "Yeah, I'm sure your mom is real busy. I think mom is ready to move on and be done with dinner. Let's let her get on out of here." And Alicent is like wants to get on out of here. And Aemon's just like, "No, you're gonna stay with us. You're gonna stay here. There's nothing for you anywhere else. I'm all that you have left." And Alice is very annoyed by this, and she walks away and goes to the fire. So like Aemon's girlfriend wants his mom to leave. His mom wants to leave. And he's just like, "No, I want my mom here and my girlfriend here. This is what I want, and this is what's gonna happen." And yeah, no, it was great. It was great. We're saying this scene was awful? I don't know what you're talking about. Have you not ever been at an awkward family dinner with like a mom and a girlfriend that they just don't approve of each other? Like it's a hilarious vibe. It's a hilarious vibe for sure. I thought it was great. Um and so yeah, Alice tells him that they're out of wood and Aemond like gets angry and like slams his plate forward and goes starts chopping wood for the fire. And then Alice is just like, "My designs for our future did not include your mother," which is probably not the greatest way to convince Aemond that she's looking out for him. Um, but he says, "And there's the truth of it." And she tries to pitch that she's come here to do you some evil. And he's just like, you would be wise to keep your dark thoughts to yourself. So he at this point is like fully convinced, like, oh no, my mom is here for the she's here because she loves me. She said that she was going to come to Harrenhal, and she's making good on her promise. My mom loves me. I'm her favorite son now. Like, he thinks that all of this is genuine from Alicent, even though she's been lying to him this entire season. Um, so yeah. Um, I mean, I don't understand. There's some complaints about this scene in the chat. I don't know, man. I don't know what you want. This was a pretty funny scene for me. Um, like, I understand that it is not a scene from the books. If you're mad about the divergence from the books and the show, fine, but like, we got to accept that at this point. Like, when I'm watching this show, I am well past thinking of like, does this match the books? Because it is obviously never going to. We have to just judge the show for what the show is at this point, in my opinion. If you want to enjoy it, if you don't want to enjoy it, then I don't know. But like, I thought this was, for what the show is doing, I thought it was pretty good. Um, but I don't know. I thought, like, as a nice little break in the action, this like very awkward dinner scene, I thought that was pretty good. Um, so yeah. Then we do get the funny line of Alice being like, "You Targaryen boys all want the same thing, don't you?" Which is apparently the love and respect of their mother, um, which has manifested in some very weird mommy issues from Aemond. But yeah, I thought this was also a pretty funny line. And meanwhile, as they're chopping wood and having this conversation, Alicent was going to grab a dagger, and then she noticed the nightshade plant growing there next to the weirwood. So um, we're getting the payoff for the toxic plant that Helena and Jaehaera were talking about with Alicent earlier on. So yeah, it's it's a good little payoff. Yeah, the how many Targaryen boys has she known? It's at least two. We don't know how old she actually is. I think her actress at one point had said something like she's hundreds of years old secretly. So if that's the case, maybe it's more than two, but it's at least two. And both of them had some mommy issues. Daemon's, I think, were very different in that he had to deal with the absence of his mother his entire life because she died when he was young. Whereas Aemon's are much weirder because his mom was not great to him, and he like replaced her with the sex worker who he had been sleeping with, and was like doing therapy with her, curled up in the fetal position. So his like motherly relationship and his sexual relationships have all become mixed up in a way that you really just never want. So yeah, all of them have weird mommy issues going on, or at least all the ones that she has met in the scope of this show. But so then we get to the scene where they all figure out that they are that Tywin, Larys, and Aegon figure out that, hey, this giant army is coming to find Tywin Lannister, because of course Corlys sent word back to the capital that Tywin survived and that he was at Rook's Rest, and then they sent out the Mutin army to go and hunt him down. So uh Larys is just like, okay, Tywin, they're hunting you. I think the honorable thing that you should do is turn yourself in so that me and Aegon can escape. And Tywin's just like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, I'm gonna just run really fast. Send the king with me. We'll run away and get away from him. And Larys is like, you idiot. Rhaenyra's hunting you. The king is never going to be safe with you around. Turn yourself in. And as they're arguing, Aegon is like, no, go where you will, both of you. I'm done running. I'm going to make my stand here. I will not have the history books say that my brother killed me I will not die unknown in the dust, shot in the back. None of that. I'm going to make a glorious last stand here next to my dead dragon, and I'm going to yell at them and let the history books remember me, basically. And Laris is just like, well, if you guys and Tyland being a total bro, he's just like, well, if the king is going to make a stand here, then I will stand with him. And Laris was like, well, all right, if you are sure that you guys are both going to go die, I'm going to get on out of here. And Tyland's like, what do you mean? Like, are you really just going to abandon your king like that? And Laris is like, look, dude, I'm smart enough to know that my presence in a fight is not going to help anyone. So I'm going to get on out of here and make sure that King Aegon is remembered and that his heroic last hours are immortalized in story and song. And Tyland's just like, okay, whatever. And he asks, unless the king commands me to stay, and Aegon's like, no, just go, dude. You guys do whatever you got to do. So yeah, we're gonna have Aegon and Tyland getting ready to make their last stand. And yes, Tyland is having a wonderful redemption arc for sure, for sure. Um, let's see. Yes, Aegon's story has been phenomenal. He is absolutely one of the best characters, for sure, for sure. Um, so yeah, yes, he is. He has been having a heck of a good redemption arc for Aegon, as he's like basically ever since Tom Glencarney has been Aegon, he's been one of the funniest characters in the show. So, um, yeah, he is. He's become far more likable at this point too, especially now that he's gone through some actual character growth, recognizing that he is like a terrible person, and like I don't know if he's yet tried to become better, but like I think that's very clearly the implication. And also, like when he was first made king, he was trying to do a good job. He was like, I'm gonna take care of the small folk. I'm gonna give you back your sheep, little shepherd guy. You came all this way. They took your sheep, and Otto had to like walk up to the throne and be like, Your Grace, you can't give people back their taxes just because they ask. If you give back the taxes, everyone is gonna show up at your footsteps and try and ask not to pay taxes. Aegon's like, oh, shoot, okay. Um, Sorry, I can't help you with your flock of sheep. I'm sorry, bud. But yeah, he is a phenomenal character. And yes, this is absolutely a thing that Aegon has become infinitely more likable, and Rhaenyra has become infinitely less likable. Uh, in this season especially, but like at the beginning, Rhaenyra super likable, Aegon not so likable, and then they've just been slowly changing places. Um, so yeah, yeah. Yeah, he would have absolutely granted Ulf's request to go hang out with his buddies. Absolutely. Um, so yeah. So then we get this scene of Daemon and Rhaena where he hunts her down. Caraxes nips at Sheep Stealer until he lands, and he's just like angry at her. He's like, "Why are you hunting Vhagar? Like, what do you hope to accomplish if you find Vhagar? You're not gonna kill him." And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna try." And he's like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, if I can kill Vhagar, I'll have paid some of my debt to Rhaenyra, and then I can go back home and apologize." And he's like, "Well, what if Vhagar kills you?" And she's like, "Well, then I'll have paid all of my debt to Rhaenyra, and I can die, like die absolved." I believe is what she says. She can die absolved if she can't live absolved. Either way, she has decided that she is unwilling to live her entire life eating dragon regurgitated mutton and berries out in the mountains, which is fair. But it is very funny that like she had that like teenager arc of like I'm running away from home, I'm gonna live in the woods, and then like a week into living in the woods is like I'm coming back home, I cannot live in the woods. I don't like it out here. And it's like normally that takes like a day, but I think she did a pretty good job. She lived out there for like a month. So yeah, it was uh it was a good attempt, but in any case, she is tired of running away from home. She wants to come home. And we get another really good vulnerable Damon scene where he like actually connects with his daughter, which is great because he's just like, hey, you know that I had no dragon when I was your age either, right? Like I was alone the same way that you were, and I eventually claimed a dragon, so I understand where you're coming from. And he says that he will help her hunt Vagar, and maybe together they can take Vagar down. And as they're talking about that, uh, Adam and Rhaenyra show up on their dragons, and Rhaena freaks out. She's like, "You betrayed me," and he's like, "No, I didn't. I didn't tell them to come here. I swear it." And then yeah, things go real bad, real bad. A month has a month gone by since Rhaena dipped out into the Vale and has been living in the woods. I bet it's at least a few weeks. Um, she left quite a while ago. The Battle of the Gullet at this point, I feel like was at least a few weeks ago. It is tough to figure out the timeline with this show for sure. Um, so yeah. Um, and how did they find Sheep Stealer, but they can't find Vagar? Well, they spotted where Sheep Stealer was, flew right back, and then were just like scouring the skies for the same general area. Like I imagine they got back, because they get back, go into the small council meeting, and they're like, "Hey, Sheep Stealer is in the Riverlands with a rider. We were just there. We saw him." Then Rhaenyra ends the small council meeting, talks with Massaria about how Daemon lied. And then Rhaenyra's like, "Hey, bring Adam." And then I assume they instantly saddled back up and left, flew over the same general area where Sheep Stealer had been, and Daemon and Sheep Stealer, or Caraxes and Sheep Stealer, were probably fairly easy to spot. So, um, I imagine they just flew over the general area of the Riverlands until they spotted some big dragons. Uh, but yeah, um, and yeah, we get to see Cyrax being absolutely adorable as hell. Uh, very pretty dragon, and um, comes in and is trying to be all ferocious and angry. Rhaenyra is very pissed off. She says, what's going on here, basically. She's just like, tell me what your deal is with Sheep Stealer's rider. You will not have another chance to deceive me. And meanwhile, Adam is chasing Rhaena through the bushes, which he instantly catches her and drags her back. And Rhaenyra is like, Rhaena? What do you mean? She was Sheep Stealer's rider, and Daemon is like slowly backing away. He's just like, oh no, I'm caught. That's not great. And then we get full on dragon fight. So Cyrax starts it by burning Sheep Stealer in the face. And I imagine, like, personally, that this is because Rhaenyra has just so much hate inside her for Sheep Stealer that has been built up over the last, like, however long it's been since the Gullet, probably a couple weeks. Um so yeah, it's it's a thing where I think the reason that Cyrax does this is because of the connection to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra has been just absolutely hating Sheep Stealer for this entire time, and in this moment, probably does want Sheep Stealer killed for the fact that she holds Sheep Stealer responsible for Jace's death. So we get full on dragon fight. Cyrax starts it and then gets absolutely bodied. Cyrax is like never not really been a combat dragon. I don't know if I would say never. I think it is never, though. I do think Cyrax has probably never been in a genuine dragon fight. Someone can maybe point out that I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Meanwhile, Sheep Stealer has been living on the streets. I've seen this compared to like your house cat that gets outside and like goes and fights like the angry stray tomcat with the giant jowls and who's been in like 1,000 fights. Um, and yeah, Cyrax gets absolutely dragged around by the neck. does a bit of damage to Sheep Stealer. Um, but then poor Sheep Stealer, he gets bodied by Caraxes. They triple team Sheep Stealer, and this is like, you know, considering these are CGI dragons, it is remarkable how sad this made me to watch. Because Sheep Stealer did nothing wrong. Sheep Stealer was doing what he thought was best the whole time. I mean, here, look at my tagline. It's been my tagline almost all season. Sheep Stealer did his best. Sheep Stealer, he was trying his best. Dang it, he tried to do his best, and now poor Sheep Stealer is getting choked out by Caraxes, nipped apart by Sea Smoke, and Cyrax is flying away with his rider. And the way that he looks at Reyna, and he's just, "You're leaving me behind? No, I was just trying to help you, and now they're killing me, and you're leaving me." It's very sad. Like, from Sheep Stealer's perspective, he thought he made his first friend in his entire life, and now he is getting triple teamed by a bunch of big dragons who are beating up on him and attacking him, and they're about to kill him, and his best friend is just leaving, and it is sad as hell. um yeah, it is absolutely sad. Yes, Sheep Stealer also did not listen to Reyna. That is a thing. He was not the best listener, but dang it, he tried his best. All right, he tried his best. Um, and yeah, he finally, after a long, lonely life, has one friend, and that one friend led him into a situation where he gets ganged up on, and she leaves as he's dying. It is really, really tragic. Um, so yeah, poor Sheep Stealer. This little image right here is just as bad as it gets for him. He is crying out, hoping that his best friend will help him, and unfortunately, there is no help coming. Damon, though, someone pointed out, it doesn't look like uh, Caraxes is actually trying to hurt Sheep Stealer, and I was curious about this. Like, I don't know if Damon intentionally left Sheep Stealer alive. Um, because Damon says, hey, escort the queen, I will finish this. And then he does say, kill him, Caraxes. And as Caraxes is like using his extra length and reach with his neck to like pin Sheep Stealer down, Sheep Stealer gets a tail whack on Damon and sends him tumbling off onto the ground. And then Caraxes lets go and goes to nuzzle Damon as Sheep Stealer like limps away. So Sheep Stealer got his neck really bit into quite a bit, and also they bit his wing, so he can't fly. Caraxes does like take a big chunk out of his wing right where it meets the shoulder. So whether Caraxes was actually trying to spare his life or not, I don't know for sure. I hope Sheep Stealer makes it, licks his wounds, recovers, and goes back to doing his own thing, but I don't know. It's going to be a rough one. Rough recovery for Sheep Stealer. But yes, Caraxes is a very good boy. Look at him being a good boy there, making sure that Damon is okay. The dragon nuzzling scene was absolutely adorable. And yes, Caraxes and Damon looking on as Sheep Stealer whimpers and limps away. Very sad. And yes, I do agree with this in chat here. The sidekick connection could be the hesitation that is required. Like, he says kill him, but I do agree. If Damon wanted Sheep Stealer to survive, I think Caraxes would know that. So yeah. Like, in this moment, if they wanted Sheep Stealer dead, they could go after him and finish the job, and they don't. So that is the thing that I think makes me think maybe they don't want Sheep Stealer to be dead. Um, so yeah, I hope Sheep Stealer pulls through. I hope he is able to recover, get his wing working in order again, and fly back to the Vale and just hunt sheep for the rest of his days in anonymity. and, not get all messed up with all these darn riders who lead him into 3v1s and then abandon him. Which maybe I'm being a little hard on Reyna because she was kind of dragged away, but she did also kind of screw up Sheep Stealer's entire life. So, yeah. It is tragic for Reyna, absolutely, no doubt. But also, from Sheep Stealer's point of view, it's maybe even sadder. So, yeah, poor little guy whimpers as he limps off, and we'll see if that's the last we see of him. Um, so yeah, uh, then we get a scene between Sylvie and Massaria where Massaria is like, "Hey, Rhaenyra's not hearing petitions right now, but you can bring things to me that you hear, and I'll try to whisper in the queen's ear when, she's in a good mood and when I think that we can get something done." And Sylvie's just like, "Oh, so you're trying to be her proxy, basically," and just kind of calls Massaria out on her BS. Which it is tough to say, like, just how much is Massaria actually caring about the common people at this point. I think she did in the beginning. But at the same time, last episode, she did have a random maid murdered just to cover her own ass because she lied to Rhaenyra. So when Sylvie calls her out on this, she is right. Power has changed Massaria. So yeah. Um, she points out at one point in this scene that, like, "Hey, Massaria, that outfit you're wearing is worth more than I make in a year, and you're here telling me that you're still a champion of the small folk? I don't think so." And it basically goes so badly that Massaria has to just be like, "Oh, bringing you here was a mistake. Guards, get her out of here." And Sylvie says to her, like, "Hey, a sex worker in these halls is always going to remain a sex worker. You're never going to be anything more than that." Which I think is interesting considering later on Massaria is about to be fired and she just like seduces Rhaenyra instead. She's just like, "Oh, shoot, maybe she does still view me that way. You want to make out, Your Grace?" Like, that is, I don't know if that is a connection we're meant to draw, but she is told that you will never be more than that, and then later on she becomes that for Rhaenyra. So yeah. And then we get back to Alicent and Aemond, and this is another great line. Alicent is like, "Your friend doesn't seem to want me here," and Aemond's like, "She's not my friend," and Alicent's just like, "Oh yeah," like she. It's just hilarious. It's the mother who does not approve of the girlfriend vibes is continuing through this scene, where she's just like, "Yeah, your friend," and he's like, "She's my girlfriend," and mom's like, "Okay, whatever you say," but like she doesn't want to say your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. So yeah, it is very, very funny, this whole little interaction, and I love this line as well. "She's not my friend." Oh, well, she wants me gone. And Aemon's like, "Well, I'm glad you came." And she then hands him some spiced wine and says, "I remember a time you would not fall asleep without it." And she says, as she's handing him the poisoned wine, he says, "Alice doesn't trust you." And she says, "Well, who do you trust?" And then he admits to her, "I tried to kill Aegon." And she's like, "I know." And it's just like, okay, this might be something that strengthens her resolve. Like, she has already made the choice here that she is willing to kill her son, but being reminded of that in the moment may make her feel a little better about it. Because, like, yeah, she is like trying to kill her son, who is a murderer, who has burned an entire town to the ground in a temper tantrum, and who also tried to kill her other son. So, yeah, this I think is probably something that is actually good for Alicent to hear in this moment. But yeah, she hands him the poisoned wine, um, and she poisoned him with nightshade. I'm pretty sure that is the plant that Helena and Jaehaera were looking at earlier on in the season when Alicent came up and was hanging out with them in the Godswood, and she recognized that from Helena talking about it, and she spiked the wine with it. Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah, the nightshade has been paid off. and she poisons Aemond, and then we'll see how that goes a little later on. Then we get a scene of Daemon coming to talk to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra has her handmaid stay in the room so that Daemon doesn't do anything crazy, which is an interesting little move, showing that maybe she doesn't really trust Daemon at this point to not do something insane, because we do remember he did choke her at one point earlier on in the show. So yeah, it it is a thing that is probably a good idea for Rhaenyra to keep someone in the room with them as a witness. But Daemon just wants to basically apologize. He's just like, "Hey, I didn't mean to lie to you. I was trying to protect my daughter, one who I've long neglected. I was trying to do what's best. I'm sorry," basically. Um, and Rhaenyra just says that it's late and sends him away. So yeah. Then we get to see Rhaena there, and she has Bela come to the door, and she apologizes, and as she's apologizing, Bela's just like, enough of that. You will begin anew. So Bela has forgiven Rhaena for what she did and is trying to help her sister, which I think is very sweet. Um, let's see. So yeah. Yes, good big sister moment, absolutely. She is being very understanding because yeah, Reina did try her best. Um, so yeah. Forgot. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot when Rhaenyra asked Daemon, "What do you think I am?" Yeah, that is another interesting aspect of this scene. So, uh, first of all, Rhaenyra keeps a witness in the room to make sure that Daemon doesn't like hurt her, basically. And then Daemon is like protecting his daughter, and Rainier is like, "From what? What do you think I am?" Basically implying that both of them think that the other is capable of harming a family member or even killing them. Like it is a interesting dynamic here that yeah, both of them don't really trust each other not to do something horrible when they're put in the position to. And it is interesting because Damon did kind of say to Reyna, like, "Hey, come back. We'll apologize to Rhaenyra. It'll be okay." And Reyna's like, "No, I can never face her again." And only then was Damon like, "Okay, fine. We'll cover this up." But yeah, it is definitely an interesting dynamic, and it's another moment of Rhaenyra realizing, like, oh, people view me as though I might do something crazy. Like, she might like injure Reyna or whatever. And that is probably pretty hard for Rhaenyra to hear that, like, oh, my husband thinks I might kill his daughter. Um, so yeah, it is it is definitely an interesting scene there. And then yeah, we see Alan getting Corlys's finger in a box with his signet ring, which is obviously very unsettling. That's not the type of thing that you want to have mailed to you. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Valarian men react now, knowing that Corlys is being held hostage and slowly dismembered. So yeah. And yeah, no, this is I mean, it is pushing Rhaenyra in the direction of thinking she just can't trust anyone. Um, and yeah, that is a thing that is slowly building up for sure, and realizing that Daemon doesn't trust her, is probably gonna be a pretty big deal for her. Um, let's see. Um, But yes, okay, so we're moving on to yeah, Aemond. He comes stumbling into Alice as she's like getting ready for bed. She's feeding her owl a little bit, and he just like stumbles on in. He says Alice, and then collapses because he's been poisoned. She's just like, idiot. Which is another very funny scene. All of the Harrenhal scenes this episode were pretty darn funny. Um, so yeah, she is fully aware that Alicent was here to do something bad to Aemond, and he trusted her, and now she realizes, oh, he's been poisoned. She seems, I think, fairly confident in her ability to not have him die from this, because she just kind of slowly, like, gets to work, probably going to mix up an antidote or whatever, but we don't really see what she does, but she doesn't, like, frantically freak out or anything as he collapses, so I imagine if she thought she was unable to save him from this poison, she would have been a little bit more frantic than she is. So yeah. This is a good point actually. Yeah, she may already be making the antidote or maybe already has. Like that would not surprise me at all. That's a good point. Um so yeah. And oh yeah, we will have to see like that is going to be a really interesting thing next episode to see how Aemond reacts to the fact that his mom did in fact try to kill him. Uh yeah. That'll be that'll be a very interesting part. There's a lot of really good setup for next episode. I'm very sad that next episode is the last one of the season, but also there's going to be a lot of good stuff in that episode for sure. So then we get Helena's visions. I did do a whole video on this, which you guys can check out after this if you want. We will talk about it here, of course. Um, but the first vision that she gets is her baby being taken away from her. Um, this is what Allison said would happen, and now Helena is having a dream about it. And this is, I think, one of the possible futures that Helena has waiting for her. If she stays around and has her baby, it will be taken from her. I do agree. 10 episode seasons would be better. I hope that the last season has more than 8 episodes. I don't think we've had it confirmed how many there's going to be, but yeah. Hopefully it will be the case so we get more than 8. But so then the next vision that Helena has is her Dracarysing a ton of people as she rides Dreamfire. Um, and yeah, I said this in my video. Basically, these are like I think potential future different timelines or alternate options that Helena could have of like, hey, you could stay and your baby will be taken away from you. You could embrace your dragon riding side and try and escape with your dragon, and you might have to kill a bunch of people in the process. And then the last thing that she sees is the future that she always wanted. Uh, Jaehaera, and I assume this is her son that she would currently be pregnant with, not the one who was killed in Blood and Cheese. Um, but I assume that this is her and her 2 children living their happiest, best life. The ideal situation for Helena. She said she wanted to keep chickens. She's getting to keep her chickens. And then we see an eclipse take over, and snow starts falling, and the icy winds start taking over the scene. And this is something that I talked about in my video I did about this. I have long thought that, yeah, the others are connected to the moon magic in some way, and that the long night would absolutely be an eclipse. I think I've talked about how, like, it seems like there's all these different long night myths from all over the world, and the shadow that hangs over Asshai permanently, which Asshai is where the dragons were made. There used to be 2 moons in the sky until one got too close to the sun and cracked, and now in the place where the dragons were born, there's a permanent shadow. It feels like the moon has been like magically dragged into forming a permanent eclipse over Asshai. There is still one moon in the sky. And I think that these different areas having their long night legends is because whenever someone tries to harness this incredibly powerful magic, it can drag the moon in front of the sun and create this long night, and these shadow monsters can come and take over. Um, and yeah, it feels to me like the long night is absolutely a magical eclipse that will last as long as this incredibly powerful magic is being done. And we get a vision of that here. We get to see the moon covering the sun, the ice taking everything over. And yes, I do agree this is roughly what I said in my video. I won't go into full spoilers or anything like that, but in my video I do break down like it seems like basically these dreams that Helena is having here are showing her that every path before her is sort of doomed. Like there's not really a good path for Helena at this point. Um so yeah. Uh, if you want more about the visions, absolutely check out that video I did after this. I'm sure many of you have seen it, but yes, it is a great scene for sure. And then we get this scene where Missaria is like, "Oh, so Reyna was Sheep Stealer's rider. I told you Damon lied." And Rhaenyra's like, "Yeah, he lied not to deceive me, but to protect his daughter." And she's like calling Missaria out because she's just like, "Well, he did still lie to you." And Rhaenyra's like, "You've never done the same," which we know last episode. Yeah, Missaria has deceived Rhaenyra, and Missaria is like trying to be like, "No, no, I only was working in your interest." And Rhaenyra is like, "No, you've always been trying to turn me against my husband. That's slimy as hell. You're here pouring your honey in my ear, whispering, encouraging me." And she's just like, "No, I was just trying to help you act like Viserys would want you to." And Rhaenyra's like, "Yeah, and how far has that gotten me? What have I earned from following your advice and acting like Viserys? Everyone freaking hates me. Everything is going wrong." So like Missaria feels like she's about to get fired here. And then Missaria kind of goes and gives her little head pats and reassures her and somewhat seduces her. And suddenly it's fine. It's all okay. Uh yeah. Yes. How dare you pour honey in my ear, but also keep doing it. Do not stop. So yeah. Um yeah, no, it is a little bit of like being on the verge of being fired and then just seducing your boss is a hell of a bold move, but that is what Massaria has gone with here. And yeah, she reassures her and tells her that she's never been more certain that everything's going to work out and that Rhaenyra is deserving of being queen and all of that. So yeah, this is an interesting way they have taken these characters, but yeah, then they hook up. And yes, this is absolutely Westeros. Like, that is a thing. Like, a lot of people don't like the random hookups and such, but also, if you read the books, this is the type of shit that does happen quite a bit. So yeah. Yes. It is it is a thing. Yeah, she's not the greatest master of whispers. She's really not. She of the masters of whispers that we've seen, she might be the worst at it. I mean, she's not like look, I don't know if I could do a better job of spycraft than Massaria, but every other master of whispers we've seen has done a better job. Like Laris, uh Varys, Bloodraven, like even freaking like Littlefinger and Ormond, all of them seem to have better spy networks than Massaria does. So yeah. Varys is actively undermining his rulers, that's true, but also when the Mad King was there, he was doing a good job for him. So yeah. And also, if we're talking just on skill level, Varys is much more skilled at this for sure. But yes. Yeah. Yes, she is the gossip mommy. It's the different, slightly different title than Master of Whispers for sure. Um, and yeah, no, that is a thing. That's why I pointed out. I don't know if I could do a better job than Massaria, but the bar is incredibly high, like almost shockingly high for Master of Whispers in this world. So yeah, it's a it's a high bar to clear, and I don't think she clears it. Um, but yes. So then we get Aegon having his final stand with Sir Tyland. They are surrounded by the Mutant army out in the woods as they're having a nice campfire, and they resolve to have their final stand, and we get Lord Wally Smooten here. And does anyone recognize where this guy is from? I recognize, I recognize that smile from somewhere, and I didn't put together where it was from. And then as I was like going to bed the night after watching this, I was like, I know where that smile is from. My brain, like, as I was like that thing where you're like 99% asleep, and suddenly I'm like, in my brain, like, I'm like 99% asleep, and my brain shouts, he's the minstrel from Crodmandoon and the Flaming Sword of Fire. He's the guy from Crodmandoon, episode 1. So yeah, I'm sure other people may recognize him from other places, but I recognize that smile because he is from Crodmandoon. And yeah, if you have not seen Crodmandoon and the Flaming Sword of Fire, I have considered doing a full rewatch, like recap episode, basically, of this show. It was what Crodmandoon is it was a Comedy Central show that got like a 1 season run back when I was in like middle school. And I remember it being absolutely hilarious. It was like, imagine Game of Thrones if everyone was really dumb. It's like the Spaceballs is to Star Wars, Crodmandoon is to like Game of Thrones. It had a hero with a flaming sword of fire, but also it would just spark up randomly and he couldn't control it. He had a wizard sidekick who couldn't do magic. He like lied his way into the job, basically. They were like a rebel band of freedom fighters trying to overthrow the kingdom and lead the resistance and all of this stuff. And this guy was a bard in episode 1. And the song that he sings is, it's tyranny, you're hearing me, that makes the world go round. So give up your freedoms, you don't really need 'ems, and bow before the crown. And then the evil leader, Chancellor Dongalore, is like, I love your energy, but somehow I feel like you don't really mean what you're saying. Like, maybe oppressive totalitarian regimes aren't really your cup of tea. And when he's laughing here, he's like giggles. He's like, "It's true, sire. I don't really care for him." And he's just like, "Guards, kill him." So he's just like, "Oh, it's okay. Tell me the truth. Do you not like my oppressive totalitarian regime?" And this guy's like, "Yeah, it's not really that great." And then he's instantly executed. So this guy has the honor, I think, of being the first person who has been able to be killed by a Dongalore and a Targaryen. Uh, so yeah, this is my little Crodmandoon rant. But at some point when we're not in the middle of like a season of television that I'm actually covering, I might find time to make an episode about Crodmandoon and the Flaming Sword of Fire. I will say there's probably some jokes in there that did not age the best, but there are some that also I think aged phenomenally. So yeah, we'll see. I do remember there being some great stuff in this. But so anyway, the Crodmandoon guy asks, "Is that you, Tyland Lannister?" And he says, "The Queen's been looking for you." And I think you can get the series on, is it like Amazon these days? I think it's like less than $10 to get Crodmandoon and the Flaming Sword of Fire. If you like Game of Thrones type worlds and you don't mind some 2008, 2009 humor, I'm sure you will enjoy it. The warning I would give is there is one character of the main crew who is like super flamboyantly gay, but also he is like it's not played as terribly as I thought it was, like looking back, because I watched it a little while back after having not seen it for probably over a decade. Uh he is flamboyantly gay, and there is a woman in the crew who has sex with a bunch of people, but they're also the only two who are like confident in themselves at all. They have like actual self-confidence and aren't like kind of losers about everything. So they are somewhat stereotypical, but they are also like the only two people with any self-confidence. So I think it makes up for it. There's a few jokes that maybe they would have done differently today, but for the most part, I think it's pretty good. Um, but okay, back to House of the Dragon. My Crawd Mandoon rant is over for now. We'll maybe cover it later on the channel. Um, but yeah, Thailand is ready to make his last stand, and he's told the Queen's been looking for you, and they want to know where the gold is. Otherwise, they're gonna take his ears. Basically, they're just like, hey, uh, tell us where the gold is, and you can die with your ears still attached. So yeah, it's and yeah, yeah, like I would imagine most of the people who watch, like a Song of Ice and Fire can handle like minor little things that won't offend that like I don't think this is a show for the super easily offended necessarily. But also, yeah, it's a little bit of a different vibe, but it is, you know, it's a good show. I remember liking it quite a bit. Like it when I was in middle school, it was like one of my favorite shows. When I rewatched it like a long time later, I was like, yeah, it's still pretty good. Um But yeah. So then we get Aegon with his wonderful speech where he says, "Behold me now. I am Aegon Targaryen, sixth king of the or he says, I think he says Viserys is one true heir, the sixth king of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men. I was anointed by the High Septon, and it is in their light I stand before you now." And then everyone starts like slowly backing up, and it's hilarious because Aegon is too busy just screaming at the top of his lungs to hear the dragon approaching behind him. So he thinks that everyone is like terrified of him with his sword, and it's very fun. Yeah. Yes, this was a great scene. Tom absolutely did kill it. Unhinged Aegon, absolutely. Um, it's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Yes, yes. Um, let's see. Thank you for the super chat. Do dragons grow slash heal from eating human? I imagine they grow from eating humans similar to any other meat, but that is interesting because like the whole human sacrifice being clearly magical in this world, that wouldn't surprise me actually. I would have to look into it more and see if like we can draw a true connection in the history, but it wouldn't surprise me if eating a bunch of people does actually somewhat magically help the dragons. That is a good point, and thank you for the super chat. Um, but he says, "It is in their light he stands before them now." He says, "Strike me down." And he just starts laughing maniacally at them because they're all backing up and running away. And he's like, "Now you see me as I truly am, dreadful in vengeance, righteous and glorious." And then he notices, like, oh, they're not scared of me, they're scared of the big dragon behind me. And he realizes Sunfire is alive. And that is the best possible news that Aegon can possibly get. Yeah, yeah, it was great. This is an interesting question. I don't know for sure if like I think maybe Sunfire, because Sunfire was like locked in battle with Meleys, may have had his head turned, you know. Um I could I'd have to go back and watch. It could be because he got burned on the opposite side because his head was turned and tangled up with Meleys and they were spinning around at the time. And it could also be because he slammed into the ground and he's been resting with that side of his face down the entire time. But yes, they do have injuries on the opposite side, as we'll see here. So Aegon says Dracarys, and he burns the Mutin host alive, almost all of them. So yes, it is it is a phenomenal scene, one of the best scenes of the show so far for sure. And yeah, I think it is either, as I said, because he got burned on the opposite side, or because that was the side that was landed face down in the mud the entire time. And yeah, it is a very cool mirror image for sure. For sure. And yes, they definitely do have some Two-Face vibes as well. But yeah. So then we get to see Aegon just scream laughing as he realizes his nuclear weapon is still alive, and he is burning the entire army that was just about to kill him, and they are going to survive. That's got to feel great. Like, that has to just be the best feeling of, like, you give your massive speech expecting that you're about to die. Not only are you not about to die, but like your childhood dog is back from the dead and he's killing all of your enemies for you. Like, I can't imagine a much better feeling than that for Aegon. Um, and then we get them both laughing and just having a good old time, and we get a real good look at, yeah, this side of Sunfire's face is completely caved in. It does kind of look to me like that might be impact from hitting the ground, but again, yeah, maybe it is worth going and watching the battle at Rook's Rest again to see if that is a side of his face that got like super badly burned or if it was just from the ground. Um, but yeah, phenomenal scene, and only the second to the last scene because then we get Ulf having a nice ale. He says decent ale that, and we see he is drinking with Ormond. So if we're wondering how exactly, because he says since last we spoke, I heard something since last we talked. So Ulf has been having these meetings with Ormond before. So if we're wondering how did John Roxton get out to go capture Corlys, probably because Ulf led him. Um, so yeah, he has been having these meetings for a while. Ormond once again proving that he has a better whisper network than Mysaria, and he knows that he was struck by Daemon. Um, and yes, it is going to be hard for them to be sneaky. I think in the next episode preview they even straight up say like news of Aegon's return has reached Rhaenyra. Like everyone's going to know now that Aegon is back, which is what I'm sure he wants. Like that is a best case scenario for Aegon. He wanted to be remembered as a badass for the history books, and he just had like the most badass speech possible, and then his dragon burned like a good chunk of the army alive. I would bet Aegon wants people to survive and go and tell that story. So yeah, they are going to be known about. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out and where it goes. But yeah, no, their sneaky time is over. Um, so yeah, uh, he says, yeah, I heard that Daemon Targaryen struck you right in front of all the commoners in the streets, an intolerable insult to someone of your stature. And then Ulf says, you said last time that I could have a castle. I want Honeyholt. And Ormond's like, oh, Honeyholt, you don't want that old thing. Driftmark is available. Ulf, do you want to be Lord of the Tides? And then they do a little cheers. And he says, they will laugh at you no more. And Ulf says, no, they will burn. And then he gives a smile. So yeah, we have had Ulf ready to betray Rhaenyra. The thing that I've had to, and other content creators have had to like waltz around the entire season as Rhaenyra mistreats Ulf and refuses to allow him to go get ale with with the boys and insults him constantly, is that yeah, Ulf is turning against Rhaenyra. He is betraying her because she treated him terribly, wasn't giving him a lordship, wasn't giving him a castle, and now we see the end result of that. So yeah, um, and yeah, okay. So some people are bringing this up in the chat, and I do agree. Actually, Ormond is being sneaky here. I would way rather have Honeyholt than Driftmark. Like, I would absolutely want the castle where we make all of the ale and keep bees. Sounds way better than the rocky island where like your entire power comes from having a giant navy and sailing around and has just been like sacked by pirates. Um, so yeah, I do think that this is a bit of a sneaky ploy from Ormond here. Like, oh no, Honeyholt, the castle that is probably still held by the Beesburys and also might be, if it was to be given by, if it was to be given away, it would be given away by my liege lord, because remember the High Towers don't rule the Reach, the Tyrells do. So he's not even in a position to give that away. Whereas Driftmark, if they take the throne, he would, in theory, be able to actually give that away. So yeah, I think he might not actually be able to give him Honey Holt, but even if he could, um, I think he would rather not. So yeah, no, it's I think Honey Holt is absolutely so much better than Driftmark in this position, but Ulf doesn't know that. He doesn't know that much at this point. And yes, you cannot give someone an atomic bomb and then treat them badly, and that is a terrible, terrible idea on Rhaenyra's part. And we're now seeing how that's not going to go super well, and I can't wait to see how it goes next episode. And yeah, this might also be a good point. Ormond doesn't want a dragon riding dynasty like super close by. That is probably also a big part of it. And Driftmark is oceanfront, sure, but like, are we? Do we really think that Ulf wants to maintain a giant navy rather than maintain like 50 breweries? Like, I think Ulf would be far happier at Honey Holt. Um, so yeah, he would want to be there making the mead and just drinking all day. But yeah, um, and yeah, this might be true. He might not have any idea that it's been sacked. It doesn't seem like he's been kept super in the loop on everything. Um, yeah, Ulf could be doing bee magic all day. He doesn't want to sail around on a ship. He wants to drink and do bee magic. But yeah, no, look at Ulf's big old grin. I agree. He's finally like happy again and ready to take things into his own hands. So yeah. And this is a really interesting thing too, because like I'm wondering if this is Ormond. Like, I know it might just be that he's been a hypocrite the whole time, but it might also be that he's learning. Because he did lose the chess game, the Savas game rather, to Darren without using his dragon piece. So in previous episodes, we saw them playing Savas. Ormond's dragon piece was like right in front of him the entire time, and Darren does one move of his dragon and he wins the game, and Ormond flips the board. And that might show Ormond that, like, hey, neglecting the power of dragons isn't actually a good idea. Like, you can hate them all you want, they do win if you use them. So he has now gone out, and his piece on the board is his willingness to now use this dragon. But also at the same time, his original plan was to use Vhagar. So he's always been a little bit hypocritical with the talk of dragons and all that stuff. But I do like to think that maybe he learned a little bit from losing the Savas game to Darren and his dragon, and he's like, okay, fair enough. Maybe I do need to use a dragon, or we're gonna lose. Um. So yeah, yeah. It definitely could go either way. Like I said, his original plan was to have a big dragon show up and help them. So who knows? Who knows? And yeah, Ulf doesn't care who he fights for. He just wants a castle. And yeah, like, good for Ulf. He deserves it, man. He does deserve a castle. I said this from the beginning, and obviously it was easy to say knowing that this meeting would eventually happen on some level or another. But it's so bad to get these dragon lords and not get these dragon riders and not make them lords and not give them a castle. Like, it is it is a bad idea, and Rhaenyra has really screwed up here, and it's now absolutely going to come back to bite her. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how this all goes down. Um, it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time. So what did we think of the episode overall? I think, as I said early on in the beginning, I'm sure a lot of you weren't here, are probably the best of the episodes that were actually season 3. Like, the first 2 episodes were like the finale of season 2, and they were great. And ever since then, it's been kind of the build up and the build up, and this is still a lot of build up. but we did at least get some really badass scenes like this one. So yeah, we're starting to have the payoff of all these arcs that have been building since like episode 3 of the season, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of payoff next episode. So yeah, it is. I thought it was really good. Thought it was really good. Um, and yes, this is a good point of showing like, yeah, this is why the Targaryens were very careful about who they put on dragons. Again, they could have also just treated their dragon riders better, but you know, it is what it is. We're here at 8.5 out of 10 without outside info, 7.5 with. Um, and then I'm guessing you mean like book knowledge or like knowing like outside of the episode. Like if you're just treating the episode for what it is, it's 8.5 out of 10. That's a fair statement, I guess. If some knowledge of outside stuff brings it down a little bit, fair enough. I really enjoyed it. Medium 7 out of 10. They're saying here. Dragon stonks going up, absolutely. I would say season 3 is I'd say it's better than season 2. I liked season 2. I didn't hate it, but season 2 was definitely slow and was missing the big payoff at the end, which we got in the beginning of season 3. So, I think you do kind of have to view them all as one big season almost in hindsight, but I would say overall, yeah, the fact that it included the payoff from season 2 makes it better. Um, but yeah, messy and bonkers in a fun way, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, better than last episode. 8, 9, mid. Um, stonks were good. Absolutely, absolutely. Favorite scene, yeah. Okay, so my favorite scene, absolutely, I think probably be what most people's favorite is, was Aegon's speech here. Let me know in chat what you guys thought was your favorite scene. My favorite scene was absolutely Aegon and Sunfire's resurrection and like Aegon announcing his presence to the world. But honorable mention to the Harrenhal awkward interactions with the girlfriend mom doesn't approve of scenes. Those were all good. And I would say I really enjoyed the dragon fight scene, other than the fact that it was horribly sad to watch Sheep Stealer get tag teamed 3v1. It was a good scene, but it was a scene that sucks to watch because Sheep Stealer just whimpering and being pinned down as his best friend leaves. It's all very sad. So it made me feel sad for the dragons, which I think uh, makes it a good scene. The Ormond scene with Ulf, yes, is good. That's good. Aegon did Mog, absolutely. Yeah, season 3 overall has been great. Um, dropping A Song of Ice and Fire entirely because of this episode, surely not an overreaction at all. But I mean, you can do you, I guess. Um, like I'm guessing, are you talking season 1 and 2 or episode 1 and 2? Oh, because yeah, season 2 was a step down from season 1, but I think that was not necessarily the fault of the showrunners as much as it was the writer's strike and the taking away the budget for the finale and the penultimate episode. So season 2 suffered from outside problems, but yeah. Um can't wait. I also cannot wait for the season finale. I'm very much looking forward to it, but I am also very sad that it's going to be the last of the season. And then, honestly, the single biggest problem with this show is that we have to wait 2 years between seasons. Like, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. If I have one major genuine complaint with this show, it is the long breaks between seasons do really hurt it. Um, there were problems, as I said, with the end of season 2 being cut off, but those are solved now. the only real major problem that remains, I think, is the giant wait that we'll have to go through after next Sunday. Um, and yes, this was a great scene in Thailand, like holding his sword there, ready to fight, and then bowing down when he sees Sunfire. It was great. Favorite all of Aegon scenes, the Ulf scene. Yeah, the Ulf scene it was a great ending scene. Either one of these two scenes could have been a great ending. I kind of like I thought about it a little bit of like should they have had Aegon scene be the ending? And it is like the climax, right? But this is kind of the cliffhanger, right? Like this is the twist at the end. Like this could have very easily been the end of the episode, and then they're just like, and we're gonna hit you with one more twist. And then Ulf saying that they will burn. I think they did it in the right order. But either of these two scenes would have been a phenomenal ending scene for the episode. Yes, dragons are just big puppies. Um Watch the GameStop doc. I don't need to watch a documentary. I was there. I lived it. I had GameStop calls. Uh, but no, I do agree. I'm sure this was because people were asking what stonks meant earlier on. But yes, stonks are very fun. This is not financial advice. Do not gamble the way that I do with stonks. But um, stonks are fun. I'll say that. Uh, Options are a very, very dangerous game. Do not do not do what I do. Um, I did where did I see it? Someone was asking if I covered I was scrolling around chat. Someone was asking if I covered the Nettles line from Jane Eyre, and I did. I think that was the main reference that we're gonna get. Um, is they just bring up Nettles. As I said when I talked about it, I was worried that they were gonna have Reyna like go by the name Nettles by the end, but I think we're past that at this point. Um, so yeah. I think we got our little Nettles reference, and they're hopefully not gonna do any more of them, but we'll see. Um, yeah, this is a I can understand this that like half of the episodes were build up, but it is as long as the finale is actual payoff for the build up, that's good, right? Because you can't have big moments without the build up. Right. Like it wouldn't be as satisfying if it's just big moment, big moment, big moment, big moment without any build up. So yeah, we do have to see if they stick the landing, but if they stick the landing at the end of this season, um it'll be great. It'll be worth the build up in my opinion. And yes, season 4 is going to have to be super dense, which goes along with I hope that they do get 10 episodes cuz then we can have some of the build up and the payoff. Like if they only have 8 episodes to do season 4, it is going to have to be big event, big event, big event, big event. Uh so yeah. Hopefully they do get 10. Otherwise, yeah, this season 3 might be the build up for season 4 being like a ton of payoff. But we'll see. But yeah, cutting nettles could still be a mistake. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here was where it was. Did you cover the nettle line from Lady Aaron? Yes. Yes, we did. I like I do think that cutting nettles is sad. Um, but also the way that they've mostly handled it with Reyna, um I don't think it's terrible. I think it's fine. Um and yeah, Caraxes has had a great season. His drinking water, finding Reyna in the Vale, being snuggling up with Damon after he gets knocked off. Yeah, Caraxes has had a hell of a season. Um let's see. Oh, yeah, thank you for the super chat, Kirsty. I do think that Alice could be a child of the forest. I've put out a video about that a while back. I think it was like in the off season. Um, yes, I do think that that is definitely possible. Child of the forest using a glamour, especially if uh like Gail Rankin has said that she is much older, like hundreds of years old, I want to say, in an interview or something like that. So if that is the case, there's very clearly something magical going on. And the most likely option to me is that, yeah, she is some sort of child of the forest using a glamour rather than like a Melisandre figure with an extended life. Um, and considering she's like working with the Green Men and so connected to the Weirwoods and all that stuff, I think that's the most likely option for what she is, but it could be something else. I really hope that in season 4, we'll get to see more of the Green Men and all that good stuff, and maybe we'll get an answer to that. But I could see that leaving that leaving that unanswered, and it could just be what they told the actress, so they could get her to act in such a way as Aldo is what they're saying in chat here. I yes, but also you wouldn't tell an actress to act like she's 400 years old if she wasn't something weird like that. Like it'd be a weird thing for them to tell an actress to play this as though you're several hundred years old when you're not actually. Um so yeah, like I tend to think that that is probably the case. Um that like she is genuinely super old and doing some weird magical shenanigans with her age, like a glamour, like what Melisandre's doing. Um, but yeah, it. I mean, we can't necessarily take everything that an actor says as super canon, to the show at least. But like, it's a very big clue. It's something that I think you can't fully discount for sure, for sure. Um, Yeah, this is a fair point. Aegon has had the best scene of the season so far. And yeah, like even as someone who was rooting for Rhaenyra, and thinking that like she is the one who was obviously named the heir and Aegon and Otto, I mean not even Aegon, because Aegon was blameless in the usurping of the throne, but like Otto did clearly usurp the throne for Aegon. But also, yeah, how can you not root for Aegon at this point? Like, look at this guy. Um, so yeah, like as Rhaenyra slowly makes mistake after mistake and becomes less and less likable, Aegon is only becoming more and more likable. And that is, I think, a good thing that the show is doing, right? Like, um, I obviously, as I just said, have the opinion that the Greens usurped the throne, but I'm not like Team Black or Team Green in the way of like Team Edward, Team Jacob from Twilight. Uh, like I don't feel like that's the way that you want to be viewing the show through. Um, so like yeah, I do think Aegon and Otto and them usurped the throne that should have gone to Rhaenyra. But now at this point, we see that like Aegon had probably been the better king, in his brief time on the throne, even though it's a difficult decision because he had a lot of advantages that Rhaenyra doesn't have. Like his treasury wasn't empty. He didn't have nearly the problems that he was having or that she is having. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting situation, to see like how he would have reacted had he had the difficulties Rhaenyra had when she took the throne. But like he was clearly trying to do a good job, and he did do a lot of bad things previously in his life, but since then he has become far more likable. So yeah, he is absolutely Aegon stonks going up, Rhaenyra stonks going down. Uh, hard to disagree with that. Um, do I think Aemon's son is the Night King? If we're talking the Night King in the show, uh, probably not. If we're talking the Night King in the books, definitely not. In that the Night King in the books is like 10,000-year-old legend, who I personally think, if the Night King is any named character we have, it is like late age Bran the Builder may have given over to the temptation for weirwood immortality and become the Night King. I have a video about that. Um, that like, yeah, it is possible that Bran the Builder in his late age may have dabbled into the dark magic to try and maintain some control forever and became the Night King. Um, but I am really interested to see like where Aemon's and Alice Rivers' story goes. Like that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to going forward for sure, is to see just, what exactly goes on there. Um so yeah, no, I don't think that he's gonna end up like strapped to the tree and turned by the children of the forest the way that we saw in like Game of Thrones though. Um so I actually have a whole video about this where I went through like every time that Walder Frey was brought up before the Red Wedding. And yeah, like every time that George brings up Walder Frey, it's just like, hey, you can't trust this Walder Frey guy. Hey, Rob, you would be stupid to trust Walder Frey. Hey, Rob, Walder Frey is a liar. Hey, Rob, you can't trust Walder Frey. It's like 90% of the time that this dude is brought up, the main point of bringing him up is to be like, hey, you absolutely cannot trust that guy. And the thing about the Red Wedding is it works anyway because the untrustworthiness is so crazy. Like it is such a massive murdering. Like no one actually expects him to just murder the king and his whole family at dinner in the way that he does, even though you have been told every time that he's brought up, you can't trust this guy. You can't trust this guy. Um, but yeah, I'll look up quickly what was the name of that video that I did. I think it's something along the lines of like every time we were warned about Walder Frey or something like that. Um, yeah, every time George R. R. Martin warned us about Walder Frey before the Red Wedding, published February 7th, 2026. And it is, yeah, like over an hour and 10 minutes of me just being like, okay, so here's where he's brought up in the first book, here's where he's brought up in the second book, here's where he's brought up in the third book, and we go through like all of the times. And yeah, like 9 out of 10. And like the 1 out of 10 that's not being told that you can't trust him is like he gets mentioned because like his son is coming to be join the army or whatever. It's like it's either a little minor mention, like Sansa mentioning Walder Frey's grandson is fighting in the tourney of the hand, or something like that. And every time he's brought up with any substance at all, it's like, hey, don't trust this guy, don't trust this guy, don't trust this guy. So yeah, I think it was phenomenally done. It's one of those things that when you read it with hindsight, it just hits you over the head. It's really good. Um, for me, the Blacks usurped the throne. The Blacks refused to have another big council because they knew the kingdom would have followed tradition and named Aegon the rightful king. I mean, I don't think that there's any argument that the Blacks usurped the throne because they didn't really take the throne until they took it by force with the dragons. So like the usurping was done by the Greens. And again, like Viserys was very clear about who he named heir. He had all of the lords of the realm gather and swear fealty to Rhaenyra as his heir. He upheld that his entire time, and the Greens had to do a whole coup. like, like the usurping was the whole coup. If the Blacks were usurping the throne, the Greens wouldn't have needed to do an entire coup. Like Otto and the Green Council had all been planning a coup because they needed to do a coup. So had he been named the rightful heir, they wouldn't have needed to do that. Had Viserys intended for there to be a great council, he could have made that clear. But like the king can name an heir. Um, Jaehaerys did name one through a great council. He did use a great council for legitimacy, but also it's like, you know, I don't think there because again, what did Aegon say? He's the sixth king in the line. Like, there's not like there's 1,000 years of tradition of this is the way that things are done. Like, the king can just be like, "Hey, this is my heir," and he did, and then they did a coup. Like, yeah. Ooh, we have an uncle works at Nintendo situation. My uncle works in HBO. He told me the Blackfires will be from the line of Aemon and Alice because they want the Blackfires to have a closer connection to House of Dragon and Rhaenyra. Maybe. I mean, I assume you're joking with the uncle works at HBO, but if you're not, that'd be interesting. But at the same time, we kind of know where the Blackfires come from, unless you're talking about their mother being from that line, which maybe. But no, that would. I mean, thank you for the super chat. I do. I hope your uncle does work at Nintendo. That would be kind of fun. But yeah, yeah. We do know where the Blackfires come from, though. So yeah, we're we're talking about stonks here in the chat. The scroll to the bottom, and I see someone talking about once you take the company public. Yes, this is a thing. Like, once you have a publicly traded company, you have like an obligation to the shareholders to do like whatever makes them the most money. It's actually kind of a very self-destructive thing when you think about it even a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of companies that just straight up can't do the right thing even if they want to. If it would make the shareholders less money, they will literally get sued for it. Like, yeah, it's not it's not a great incentive if you think about it for more than a few seconds. um so yeah. um why is violent conquest considered more legit than a political takeover? It's not necessarily. um like, had the Greens taken over with violence and then Rhaenyra did a coup to take it back, Rhaenyra would have still been the named heir. I mean, both matters are equally legitimate or illegitimate. It's just that, like, they had to do a coup because Aegon was never named the heir. Like, they had to do the coup because Rhaenyra was the heir. Um, so yeah, I'm not arguing that like Rhaenyra taking the throne with dragons was more legitimate than the coup that was done. I'm just saying, like, if you want to know who usurped whose throne, it is fairly clear. Um, but yeah, yeah. We have more uncles working at HBO. We have one who has never heard of House of the Dragon. um, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but okay, I feel like we have talked about this. Um, we have one more super chat here. So I feel like I'm gonna expose myself as like a massive freaking normie here, but like, I don't know, like probably things like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter is great. Um, I like, I don't know if that makes me just a massive normie, but I do feel like a lot of the series that are super well known and have popular appeal do so for a reason. The Harry Potter books are not actually as like, they're not on the level of those other two, but the movies are really good. And like, I am looking forward to seeing how they handle the TV show and all that good stuff. But like, I don't know, I don't watch a ton of movies and all that stuff. I spend a lot of my what free time I have, I'll game, I'll watch YouTube, all that good stuff. But like, yeah, Lord of the Rings is great. I mean, Star Wars is good. I didn't enjoy the sequel series that much, but yeah, I may be exposing myself as a massive normie here with this answer, but it is kind of just a lot of the really popular ones. Um, but yeah, yeah. If a father's wishes is enough to make you the heir, then we have a big problem in the whole realm. Not really. I mean, I mean, that seems pretty like a thing that can just happen. I don't know. Especially with the king. The king can absolutely name an heir, it feels like. And even if you're not the king, like I feel like you can disinherit children um in a feudal context that like I don't know. Especially when the father gets like literally all of the lords of the realm together and they swear fealty to his heir and he makes it clear the whole time. Like, yeah. And yeah, like there's not like a settled succession law. Um that's why they had to do the Great Council in the beginning of the show is because they're like, well, we don't necessarily have like a clear answer on what to do here. Let's get together and figure it out. Um and like yeah, Viserys was the king. The king's word is law. That is like the point of the king. Yeah. Um like yeah. It it is just a straight up plot point of the show that Viserys named Rhaenyra his heir. I will say, like this comment is correct. Viserys can be wrong about his choice of heir in that like he's wrong about who's the better heir, but he did name her his heir. Like, yeah. It is just straight up a thing of like well, he didn't disinherit Alicent's line, but he named Rhaenyra his heir to the throne. So like he didn't like delegitimize them or disinherit them fully, but he did say like, "Hey, they aren't the heir. Rhaenyra is." So yeah, it again like you can argue if Aegon would be a better king, and I think like at this point in the show, you have the strongest argument of any point so far to be like, "Hey, Aegon did a better job than Rhaenyra did." Uh, but like it is straight up just a plot point of the show and the dance that Rhaenyra was named heir. Aegon usurped that with Otto mostly doing it. But yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Um, so are you suggesting here we're saying we're straight up ignoring that hundreds of lords were able to vote if they wanted a man or a woman on the throne isn't a law? Are you suggesting that like the Great Council created precedent that no women can have the throne? Because I don't think that that's really the case. I think it created a precedent that they chose. Like it didn't really create a precedent because they just chose Viserys, right? Um, like unless we're saying it should create a precedent that we should have a council again. But no, like that was just like a one-time thing that Jaehaerys was like, "Hey, we've had a situation with the heirs here. We need to figure out what we're gonna do. I don't want there to be a big war over this. Um, let's find a clear heir because the heir was unclear at that point." Whereas I think Viserys, yeah, could he have maybe avoided the massive war if he had called a great council? Yeah. Would they have named Aegon if they had called a great council? Probably. Like probably. Um and yes, people are bringing up the council was very sketchy and probably rigged. I do agree that that makes quite a bit of sense. But like Viserys didn't think that um he needed, yeah, just as this is saying, the council was done because there was no clear heir. Viserys didn't ever think he wouldn't have needed a council because he was very clear about who his heir was. Um, so yeah, no, he didn't feel like he needed one, because he had made it clear his entire life. It literally even Aegon on the way to Aegon's coronation, he's just like, "You guys, I know that my father never wanted this. He had his whole life to renounce Rhaenyra's claim, and he never did. Like he very clearly wanted her on the throne. Aegon himself knew that on the way to the coronation that this was a usurping of the throne. So, um, you can say that like you think Aegon would be the better king, You can say that they were right to usurp the throne if you want to, but like you can't say they didn't usurp the throne. Is kind of my point. Um, but yeah. Uh, with that, I think I have hit all of the super chats. So thank you guys for the support. Thank you all for being here. I am gonna wrap it up because it is getting a little bit late, and I've got some stuff to do before bed and a busy week ahead. Oh, we got one more super chat. Targ Civil War was inevitable. With so many Dragon Riders, it was going to happen sooner or later. Yeah, that is reasonable. It's a reasonable take. Um, that like yeah, whether it was this generation or going forward, if they kept all these dragons around, eventually you're going to get to a point where um someone is going to be pissed off about not being the heir. Like imagine if there were still a bunch of dragons around during the Blackfire rebellions. If the dragons hadn't died off by the time of Dunk and Egg, uh we would have had dragon warfare with the Blackfires. So yes, I do agree with this. Whether it would have come with Aegon and Rhaenyra or not, eventually Dragon Rider Civil War was going to happen. The House of the Dragon would have destroyed itself one way or another, probably. But okay. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you all very much for joining me. Yes, this community is great. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I will talk to you guys all later. See you after the finale next week. Hold on. We got more super chats. Uh, Hope you have a good night, and thank you very much. And no, I don't need to pee. I have a rule: piss twice, stream once. You go pee twice before you start a stream, and then you don't need to during the stream. So that is not why I'm rushing off. But I do got to get going. Thank you guys again for the super chats, and I'll talk to you all next week.